Hi, everybody. It's Kimberly. Welcome back to the channel. So, this is going to be your messages from the Masters series this week. I'm not going to do anything visual, it's just going to be an audio channeling. There has been so much information coming through between last night and this morning. So, it's early Sunday morning when I normally do these messages. And I can't control Stella and Zoe in the background, the kitty mania. So if you hear some background noise, I apologize. But I'm going to try to just run right through this and not stop and not really edit it either. I just want it to be like a raw channeling. There's so much that wants to come through. Like if you're on the fence about listening to this, I think, it's not going to just be one thing or another. I'm going to mention so many different things. But I know that overall what I'm going to be talking about is definitely about the shift that we're in presently with this pandemic and quarantine. And I've received more guidance around this, and it's really specific to you. It's not just like talking about the overall collective situation or anything like that. It's really just about what's here for you to manage and how you can manage it. So I will just begin just calling in my guides and angels who have been around me all morning, talking, chirping in my ear. Okay. So, and maybe you guys can take a deep breath too and just get ready to receive these messages. And center yourself wherever you are. So the first word that's been coming to mind a lot is the word utopia. And I think the true achievement of a utopia won't be achieved or reached in yours or my lifetime. I have done several progressions, similar to like regressions, past life regressions or early life regressions, where you go forward into the future. I've spoken about this before. I've actually seen, in, like 1,000 years from now, I've seen what that looks like. And it's really interesting when I have experienced it myself in these progressions. It's very much like I've tried to Google images of Utopia before, and a lot of the images that I see, since I've had this progression, I've never, I didn't look that up ever before I've had these. But since I had it, it made me curious, and a lot of the images that you see out there looked very similar to what I saw in my progression. I was very much up high. That was one thing, is wherever I was up high. There was a lot of like green, lush, beautiful colors, like beautiful, like mountains, very majestic. But it was almost like I was up high, like not in a, I'll try to actually, the cover of this video, I'll use one of those images so you can see what I'm talking about. But it was almost like not a space station, but like, and I feel like this building or this was very circular, and it was connected into the earth in some way. It wasn't just like suspended in the air. And I remember being tested, like there was like a series of like testing, like people looked more homogenous, like everyone was kind of like the same race. And almost like a little bit, everyone looked a little bit, including myself, like a little bit almost like Asian, but with like, lighter skin. A lot of the people that I saw like had freckles, which was interesting. And there was only telepathic communication. And I also didn't get a real big variation in gender differences. Like I felt like there was almost like a gender equality or unanimity or something like that. Like there was quite an evolution of the physical body, 1,000 years from now, and how we communicate what the world looked like. And it was very utopian. Now, could this have been like a different planet or something? Sure. But I was asked specifically to see what Earth would look like in this progression. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because that is the advanced stage of the dimension that we're heading into right now, that we've been heading into since like 2012. That vision that I just spoke of is like the advancement of where we're going right now. When we first go into the dimension, it's not going to be as developed as that. We're not going to be as developed as that, right? It's going to feel a lot more like this world, but just in a higher frequency, higher dimensionality. And when I say higher frequency, I'm talking about what more light, more love, less karma. And this is why so much karmic clearing is taking place at this time. You're seeing it on the world stage. You're seeing it in your individual lives. You're being tested right now to clear this karma. I don't know if you guys watched my video yesterday, but I posted my May Twin Flame reading. The authority figures card came up. I was talking about how I was having a channeling around this, and then something happened for me yesterday where I literally got in trouble with an authority figure, that really doesn't happen to me. It was at one of the parks that I hike at. They're being very authoritarian, like no sense of humanity during this coronavirus, and just no flexibility. It was really harsh. And, I had to look at it and go, okay, what was in that for me? And I think, there's a piece of me that isn't in the old system anymore. And I think a lot of us, I'm saying this to you guys because I feel like a lot of us don't want to be in that old system anymore. A lot of the epiphanies I've had over the past few weeks is like, I don't want to be part of like I don't want to be reliant on grocery stores. I don't want to be reliant. I don't want to have to be in the credit system anymore. I don't want any of that. I want to just, everything that keeps coming to me is like, I want to be free of our system, because our systems are so broken and they're so fractured and they're so out of balance. And so, in order to do this, we have to change the way we structure society. And we do have to come together. And this could be, like we saw in the reading yesterday too, like more communal living, could be going off the grid a bit. It could be, finding ways to self-sustain. But I think these epiphanies and this desire that's brewing up in me, and like could be brewing up for many of you, like that you're seeing during this quarantine, that's the quarantine is creating this contrast or these epiphanies is happening because that is where we're headed. It may not happen like as soon as this quarantine restriction is lifted, but it's definitely that we're moving towards that. So, but karmically, I was faced with something yesterday. I kind of got in trouble because I, was just trying to go for a hike or whatever. And they were being very authoritarian and I wasn't really having that. And so, it's interesting for me to be like, oh, I got in trouble. Like I got in trouble. I was a bad girl, but I know in my heart, I wasn't a bad girl. I was just sticking to what I know to be right and true. And I was trying to be humanistic in the way I was relating to something that had a very, very, very stark law and like no flexibility and inflexibility. And so karmically for me, it was just a lesson about how do you maintain kindness and love like through those situations? How do you release those contracts because even this morning I woke up like, that park ranger was so stubborn, and that I need to clear that within me right now. And I can't hold on to that anger. That's karma, and the more we keep perpetuating that karmic wheel, the harder time we're going to have like moving into the next dimension, which is what we are doing. So how do we amply release that karma? So there's one technique that I was taught a while ago that's pretty simple. So like it could be with anyone, like anyone that you feel like you've been done wrong by, or anything that's been unjust, any like soul contract or anything that you have with like friends or family members that hasn't felt right to you. You know, you can do this exercise with. Before I tell you what this exercise is, I do also want to say that this time in particular it's bringing out people's distortions. So like, I feel like I'm being put through tests for my own karma to clear and fine tune those final pieces, to really be fully aware of what I project out, what I put out, But for the most part, I've been clearing, I've been up leveling, I've been adjusting to that higher frequency. This is where I'm being tested to get everything really like in alignment. I have seen like others' distortions, like the way that their either personalities are distorted, the way that they are resisting the awakening, or they're coming to the surface in a really big way right now. And it's really interesting to watch. I mean, you're seeing it on the world stage. I'm sure you're seeing it with people around you in your life. And it's just going into that fear and, like that, whatever distorted perspective they have of what's theirs, what's yours, or, what's wrong with the world, or whatever the case, that's like really coming to the forefront now. And, it's a choice. We get to choose. A lot of this is free will. You get to choose whether you want to release the karma or if you want to create more karma. So let me give you that quick exercise that I was taught on how to release the karma. So this is not a cord cutting. This is like sort of just a simple way to like release anger, release unprocessed feelings, emotions, resentment, stuff like that, feeling of being done wrong. And this is just releasing these soul contracts with these people. So whether it be a stranger, a family member, or someone that is close to you, or someone that you don't know, just anyone you've had karma with, the best thing you can do is like, you can imagine in your mind's eye, like standing in front of this person. Like you can imagine the situation that you were in with them, standing in front of this soul, this being, and, you can imagine both of you holding a contract, and, each their own version of the contract, or one contract actually. And you can tell that person, like, I release you of this contract, and it can be like a physical, like piece of paper or scroll or something like that you see in your mind's eye. And you can say something like, everything now is your journey to navigate. Like, this is complete for us. This feels complete to me. Like, I release you of this contract. And then you can see like taking back the contract, or taking your portion of the contract and just kind of tearing it up, or, you could burn it. You could use different tools, right? But I like to just kind of like tear it up and just saying this contract is no longer in place. I free you to go now, and you can go. And that's just like a simple way to clear this, so you're not holding on to stuff, and you're not also feeling like that guilt and obligation to others as well, right? And just make sure that when you do it, like, you're really pure with your intention behind it, that you really are releasing them, that you're not doing it in like a hostile way, or, you really have to believe when you're saying I free you to go, you have to like really align with that, right? So that's a technique. The other thing I want to talk about is so that's a huge thing that we're working on right now collectively. It's going to be the difference between whether you go into this new dimension or you don't. And I think for most of you listening to this, you are awakened, you're readying for this. These are some of the tests that are being brought to you now. The other test that's being brought to you is about fear and not going down that road. I don't know if you guys remember, but probably several weeks ago, a month ago, when we were first coming into this crisis, I did an Ascended Masters channeling, and on the board, one of the archangels or Ascended Masters came through. Maybe it was Mother Mary, and someone said, "Look, don't watch." And I immediately related that to the TV and the media. And it was look in terms of know what's going on. Don't be ignorant. Abide by, the guidelines that are going to keep you healthy, but don't watch. Don't get sucked into it. Don't watch. And I have to say that now, as we've progressed more into this, my strong advisement would be to bubble yourself. And I know that's that can be a really dicey subject, because you might say, well, if I bubble myself, aren't I ignorant? If I bubble myself, aren't I hermiting? But you're not. When I'm talking about bubbling, I'm talking about putting yourself in a bubble where only high vibrations surround you, where you're not going into the fear at all. So that could be not listening or talking to people who are in the state of fear as much as possible. And I know that's hard because some of you live with these family members, right? So, but there's, if you can imagine an energetic bubble around you, or create a space in your home that you can go to get into this bubble where these people are not around you, where you can separate yourself from them and be in a very high vibrational space, that's really important. But I think being in that bubble is really important. Not watching the TV, not watching the media, not reading the news. And this isn't about being in a bubble and focusing on your own personal agenda. It's not that at all. It's about being in the bubble and creating your own reality. So that means working on yourself. It means listening to high vibrational music. It means finding the happiness and I feel like I'm in that bubble, and I've been here for several weeks now, and it feels good. I had to do this when I was going through the scariest points of my cancer journey too. Every day I had to reach into the available wellness, and people would say how are you doing it? And because the reality was so stark, and the reality was awful. And if I listened to the doctors, and if I listened to all of that, I definitely would have just withered away very quickly. But every day I had to bubble myself into my own reality. And in my own reality that I created, there was a lot of available wellness. It was completely ignoring all the fear, completely ignoring all of that. And when I completely freed myself from those projections, then I was able to step into the available wellness. That means then my body caught up with it. And now I'm doing so much better. As you guys know, I went from being in my deathbed to being getting amazingly healthier, even from a month ago till now. And that's because I was creating my own reality underneath all, there was all that fear around me, but I just kept creating my own reality. I just kept reaching for all the available wellness. I'm not saying that there weren't times that fear didn't creep in. Of course it did at times, but for the most part, I stayed in that bubble. And that was, okay, so how do you do that? So you do that by doing high vibrational activities, learning, and just visualizing, continually visualizing how you want the world to be, what you want to create, visualizing abundance, visualizing light, visualizing love, connecting with others in a state of love. I mean, we can do this. I'm seeing this through my psychic development program. I'm seeing that, for the next 6 months, I probably really only want to hold programs with groups of people, because that feels really good to have a sense of community, to be leading a sense of a community, and to have support, and to be connecting in a group. That feels so good. And I know the participants in this group that I'm leading are feeling it too. That's how I'm doing it. And that's how I did it when it was just with cancer. It was just visualizing the wellness, visualizing that, going out, as much as I could to, when I was healthy enough to exercise, or to have hikes, or be out in nature, or whatever. eventually the current reality, eventually, it may not happen right away, but eventually your current reality will catch up. Your body will shift into that paradigm. Your reality will shift into that paradigm of only light and only love. And I think those of us headed into the next dimension, which is most of you listening to this is how you're creating it right now by being in your bubble. You are actually creating it. And some of you that are still kind of wrestling or fighting with the old paradigm, this could be the 9-to-5 job and the karmic partner, spouse, or whatever. Like, you got to really find moments in your life right now to really bubble and be in this bubble, to dream, visualize, do the things you love. It's so crucial to be doing it right now, because it's that bubble that's going to pull you into the next dimension, that's aligning you already with the next dimension. So make sure you're taking time to do this, or even that you're just living in this way. It might be that you start to find ways to be one foot in both paradigms, where the way, and this kind of came through in the May reading too. I think I said it for the masculine. Like, it's almost like the way he's living in this current reality, even if it's the current job or like the job from like pre-pandemic, that paradigm, because that was a different paradigm. I don't know if you guys feel it, but like, my body has changed so much from a month ago. You know, our soul, our cells regenerate daily. Like, you get a whole new body every few days. Okay. So you constantly have the ability to invoke wellness, healthier cells, all of that, right? But energetically and at a soul level, and I almost slipped and said soul instead of cells before, like, you're also like regenerating and rebirthing your soul. Like, I feel like your body's aligning with your spirit more. The more you bubble and go into a place of light, the more you resolve the karma, all of this, like, you're reinventing your body. And the bodies that we're reinventing are getting ready for this shift. These bodies are not as dense. They're going to be able to handle this transition into a lighter atmosphere, into a less dense atmosphere. It's almost like, if you can imagine, like atmospheric pressure. I've talked about this before, but it's like going up on a mountain really high. It's like that. That's what we're preparing for. And you know, like, our dense bodies, if we just without preparing went to the top of, you know, one of the big, like Mount Kilimanjaro, we would may get altitude sickness, right? So it's like, right now your bodies are preparing for that through your chakra system. This is why on May 1st, I'm holding a live meditation on the YouTube channel for expanding our auric fields, our light bodies. I'm going to help you work through a lot of this and give you a meditation that you can do to expand your light field, rebalance your chakra system, and also regenerate your cells and renew your bodies. Like, your bodies are preparing to go into this dimension at this time. So if you're feeling like, I don't want to drink alcohol anymore, I don't want to drink coffee, I want to just be healthier, I only want high vibrational foods, like, listen to yourself. Do that. And like, I've been doing that for the past 7 or 8 years, but you can do that at one phase, and it's not as serious as the next phase or as deep as the next phase. It's almost like your layers of healing. Like, when you first start peeling back the layers, like, you're kind of doing it. And then when you get deeper, you go deeper into the healing, and then you go deeper, and there's always another level or layer of healing. It's the same thing with like our health and our habits. Like, there's always another level of healthy. That's one thing I've learned. So I think too, like, maybe you've already been segueing into that higher dimensional frequency with how you eat and what you consume, but we really need to think about taking that to the next level now, and how we support our bodies, really listening to them. I have felt healthier in the past month than I have in the past 2 years. I don't know exactly how to describe this. I just know whatever I'm doing in my diet with exercise or whatever, like it's just, knock on wood, it's just working right now. And I also think in the past month, and only in the past month, I've completely freed myself of all the fear, right? So do this for yourself. Be mindful of it. You're reinventing your body. You're reinventing the new reality. So move towards the light. Think about how you want to collaborate with others, how you want to live in a more sustainable way, how you want to be good to the earth and the animals. This really is not about how do I continue that old paradigm. I really wouldn't worry about the old structures. Like, I don't even want to say this, but I have to say it, like bills and credit and 9-to-5 jobs and like all that stuff. I just feel like, is this going to be an overnight shift? No, but I do feel like we're segueing out of that structure. There's going to be much more freedom. There's going to be a choice here. And it's going to take some time to build. I'm not saying don't pay your bills. I'm just saying that, like, try not to get worried and stuck in fear with all that stuff. That's all going to shift too. Like, there's going to be a lot of pardon, forgiveness, release from that system. That system is going to fall away. And eventually our monetary system will fall away too, but that's not anytime very soon. What else? So I talked about the bubble of light and creating the new reality, creating the new body, your body regenerating. I've talked about clearing karma. I've talked about releasing those soul contracts. Trying to think what else has been coming to me. Let me just sit for a minute and see what else comes through. They're just saying too, like, there's a big emphasis on not just like we are one with nature. The earth has a heartbeat and it pulses out it's been pulsing out our vibration, which is a very low vibration. The earth naturally is of a very, 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 very high vibration. The more love-based energy we send into the earth, the more the earth is going to vibrate out that love-based energy to us. But we've spent so long, in these karmic wheels, sending out very fractured, broken energy, very karmic energy, that it's been hard. We've broken the environmental vibration up. And that's why we're in this pandemic right now. People want it to end this month. It's not going to end this month. It's not going to end anytime soon. Like, we're going to be in this for a while. We're going to be in this as long as we need to make this shift into the new dimension. That's just all it is. It's not something, people are making choices right now about where they want to go in this next paradigm. And it's going to be long enough too for the earth to truly rebalance, and for us to begin, the light workers, to make the choice to go into the light and to start sending that light and love energy to the earth. And so that the earth can then begin entering that new frequency, the new dimension. And I feel very much too, it's like asking us to consider our relationship with not just the trees and all living organisms, but especially the animals. I keep seeing just visions of birds. I keep seeing the tiger. I keep seeing really all wildlife, all animals. They're showing me right now the rhinos, elephants, zebras, the African animals. They're showing me the lions. They're showing me a whole bunch of different beautiful birds. showing me the rainforest. They're showing me like new species emerging when we go through this shift as well. So some of those on the verge of extinction they're saying they'll procreate. There'll also be new species emerging. And they keep showing me like different birds and stuff with like really vibrant colors. Yeah, I also see like that places that have, especially like in Africa, like places where there was like lack of water, like the water levels start to restore. I'm seeing that. Seeing like where the animals there are getting the water that they needed or that they need. This is not far off. This is like I'm seeing it. They're showing it to me because it's on the radar. This is not like a future timeline. This is soon. This rebalancing. I'm hearing new vegetation. There's new types of vegetation that's going to start to grow. Again, I see a lot of colors coming from it, like a lot of auric colors, but also like colorful leaves, like more of the rainbow, not just green. Does that make sense? We're going to see that. Not just 500 years or 1,000 years in the future, but we're going to start to see that as we shift into this new dimension. And our auric fields will become more colorful. That's why it's so important to be aware of your auric field and to be expanding the light bodies around your body and expanding your auric field. And the more you live in the light, the more you live in love, the more you live in your truth, the brighter that auric field will get. The more you tap into your life force energy, the brighter that will get. So I am creating a blog that's going to have very intimate details of my cancer journey. I talk about this in a recent blog post. You guys can check back to my website. Probably sometime in the next week or so, I'll have the first few blogs posted. But I was talking about how drab my auric field was at my worst point, and I knew it when I received this really colorful, intuitive painting that someone made for me. And it's almost like when I received that and the aura around that created the contrast to show me how dull my auric field was. But as soon as I started to just lean into those colors and that vibration, I started to get better and I started to heal. And then my auric field expanded again. And then I could reach into my life force energy and it was still all intact. It was still there. It was just dulled. It was just dim. So, that's really important right now. So you guys check out that blog if you have time. I know I've talked a lot about it on my podcast and we'll be doing that more, but I felt like it's important to really write it. And I'm ready finally to write it in a more intimate way, sharing the intimate details now. I think there's a lot about that journey that's helping me right now, that's helping me to help you in this time. There's a lot of similarities and parallels in terms of creating the new reality, reaching into the available wellness, coming out of the fear projections, healing the karma. So many similarities to that journey and this one that's happening collectively for everybody. So check that out. I'm going to leave you with this. I love you guys. And I hope this has been helpful in some way. You know, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. Just move on to the next video. I don't expect it to resonate for everyone, but hopefully if you found it, it's been useful information or advice, and sending you all love, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.